Right. I'm getting fed up with my Christians out there that are going around claiming that us old souls have been deceived. Where in the gospel does it say this? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, when Jesus was brought into the world at baby birth, he grew into an infant, adolescent, teen, fully adult. He was also known to put away childish things. He was also known to not speak like a child, wasn't he not? He was, right. So why are you trying to force us elderly souls into reverting back into our childish ways, into the rest of each and every one of you, when the Bible clearly suggests that Jesus was actually in fact known to age? If anything, you guys are being deceived because you're trying to revert us elderly Christians back to being like a child. Okay, well, like I said, if you guys want to live like a child, that's on your heads, and your heads alone. It's not on mine. Because one thing I've learned in life is if you live and act like a child, you will attract childish things. If you live and act like a grown-up, you will attract grown-up things, thus including a mature, sexually pure feminine wife later on. And you're trying to convince me that there's a sin in that. You're trying to convince me that I've been deceived into following exactly what the gospel tells me to do. No. Each and every one of you are being deceived because you're now trying to revert us Christians back to our childish ways, which is not going to happen because we have crucified that inner child. Just like we've crucified the inner bitch, And again, vice versa for the women out there, crucifying, their inner children and their inner men for that matter. But that's beside the point. I'm referring to us men here. The Christians of today are still trapped and enslaved into living like a child, when the Bible manuscripts clearly and evidently prove that we too can age like a fine wine. We too can grow and evolve. We too can age again. And now you're trying to get inside our heads and convince us that we're the ones that have been deceived, all because we chose to put down childish things, because we chose to avoid living like a child, like the rest of you that are still trapped and enslaved within this type of mindset. No, you are the ones that are being deceived. So quit interfering with us elderly Christians. Quit trying to convince us that we've been deceived, all because we chose to live life again and age like a fine wine by making the sacrifice in wanting to grow old. Because each and every one of you Christians trapped and enslaved within this childlike way of living as well as thinking, you too have that same chance. But the question is, how badly do you want it? Tell me, how badly do you want it? Because right now, to me, you don't want it badly enough. Because if you did, you wouldn't be trying to get inside us elderly Christians' heads and convince us that we've been deceived, all because we chose to age like a fine wine, put away childish things, and avoid childish-like people in order to attract mature people, mature wives, mature daughters, mature sons. And you have the brass neck, along with the audacity to try and convince me that I'm the one that's being deceived. Or I'm the one that is being deceived. You're sadly mistaken. Because throughout my earlier stages of the awakening, I was living like a child to some extent. But those days are over for me. They are over. And why is that? Because I chose to let it all go and crucify it. I chose to grow and evolve and age like a fine wine. And I do not take kindly to other Christians interfering with my spiritual progress. If you are the ones that want to live like a child, by all means, you live like a child. That is your free will. I'm not going to take it away from you. But that does not give you the right to try and get inside our heads and convince us that we are the ones that are deceived, all because we chose to age like a fine wine, grow and evolve, and put away childish things. If it's a mature feminine wife that you guys want later on, tell me, are you going to attract that feminine wife, that mature feminine wife, by acting and living like a child? No, you're not. All you're going to attract, quite literally, is the same thing within another woman. Some of us are actually, in fact, maturing for our age. A lot more work is required, I get it, but we are maturing for our age. And I do not have the time to be arguing with intellectually underdeveloped kindergartens that haven't yet grown nor evolved and placed themselves within our shoes. I can't stress this enough. Stop leaning upon your own understanding and focus on your own spiritual awakenings and quit interfering with ours. Do I have a problem against godly children? No. Because I was once there myself. I.e., wanting to grow foods. Wanting to, I don't know, I guess, do all of the childish things that everybody else are currently doing as we speak, based off of pleasure and only God knows what else. And I'm at that age now where none of that shite interests me, you know. It doesn't interest me. Why? Because I'm an old soul. So quit trying to, like I said, intervene and interfere with our relationship with God through His Son Jesus Christ via the Holy Spirit. Quit interfering with our spiritual awakening and quit projecting your own childlike ways of living and thinking onto us in the attempt to try and revert us back to that way. Because it is not going to happen. I am 100% adamant on this. I chose to grow old and age like a fine wine. I can't go back from that choice. But yet each and every one of you, like I said, can make the same choice. But you don't want it badly enough. Because living like a child actually gives you thrills. This is why we live in such a messed up world. This is why connections within people do not last long. People live off pleasures, feelings, emotions, rather than lean upon what the gospel says. And if the gospel says that you have the choice in order to grow and evolve and age like a fine wine, then you have that choice, right? As part of your free will. Well then. So, once again, quit interfering, quit intervening with our spiritual awakening, and focus on your darn self, rather than trying to convince us that we are the ones being deceived, all because we chose to take the narrow path, which gets narrower by the day. Me, personally, I wouldn't want my choice any other way. As a matter of fact, despite all of the change going on within my life, despite all of the change, all of the growth, all of the evolvement, I wouldn't want my life any other way. Look, slowly grey hairs forming, I estimate within approximately 5 years I'll be walking around like a silver fox, The point I'm trying to make here is I love being an old soul. And that is not going to change anytime soon. Gone are the days, like I said, where I wanted to live like a child, like everybody else. I chose to take the narrower path. I chose to grow and evolve and age like a fine wine. I also chose to become emotionally mature and emotionally intelligent in order to build healthier connections with people. So quit, like I said, once again, interfering with our free will. Quit trying to get inside our heads and, by convincing us that we are deceived all because we chose to put away the childish-like self in order to grow and evolve and age like a fine wine. And start applying the gospel to your life, and you will find that you, children out there, have this same choice. You could choose to grow old and age like a fine wine by putting away childish things, but a lot of you don't want to because you love living like a child. You think living like a child is actually, in fact, the real deal. You think living like a child is going to get you everything that you've ever wanted. Yeah, while there's truth to that, it might possibly will, but it's temporary, it's short-lived, because it's not of God. It's not of God. Because a lot of children nowadays rebel against their fathers. They rebel against their fathers. They persecute their fathers. And this is why I stopped living like a child, like the vast majority of everybody else in these overgrown ass adult bodies. And I don't plan on reverting into living like a child anytime soon. And if I am adamant about my awakening, you best believe I am adamant about my awakening. And I'm not going to allow anyone to interfere or intervene with it. And if the gospel, like I said, evidently proves that we can, too, put away childish things in order to grow and evolve and age like a fine wine, you best believe I'm going to follow what the gospel says. Therefore, your opinions, your thoughts of me, and only God knows what else, are completely irrelevant and unnecessary. End of discussion.